Hi everybody, Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com, and I'm going to show you how to make this really simple but super fun card that we created for our recent stamp club. So it opens like this. Now the best part about this type of a card is the pieces that you use you can cut to pretty much any length that you want. It really just depends on what you want to do with it. So I'm going to be using Amazing Silhouettes, which is kind of underrated. I really didn't like this, being honest, at first, but I have made a lot of cards with this stamp set. It's very easy to use. And then this is a newer stamp set. It's called Kind and Sincere. I really like all the script on these. I actually wish we had more stamps like this, and even some coordinating dies would be great. But the nice part about this is you can also use these words and kind of cut them apart to make it what you want, which you'll see with another card that I demonstrate. So really quickly before we get started, I just want to show you just a couple quick things. So Celebration is almost over. It ends February 28th. In case you cannot locate it, the Amazing Silhouette stamp set is in that annual catalog, which is the really thick catalog on page 72. This is actually a carryover stamp set from last year. And then you can see we do also have these layering dies, which make really, really cool cards. You could use any of these with like an emboss resist and then layer those together. I hope we come out with more of those because those are really fun. And then you will see that the DSP that I'm using today actually comes from Celebration. It's free with a $100 purchase. It's the Dandy Designs Designer Series paper. Boy, that's a mouthful. It is a 12 by 12 paper. So again, Celebration does end on February 28th, so you want to make sure you get it by then. They did add some other items that in case maybe you already got your fulfillment of all the things in here, although I think that paper is worth it, and I have a feeling it probably will end up selling out. There's a few other items, and I do have these linked on my blog, so you can check that out as well. You can even get the entire Eden's Garden bundle, which is a pretty good deal. And then one other thing I wanted to show you just before we get into this is how big, and I have used some of this, but this is how big that stack of paper is. You can see there's lots of different designs in here. Really great for lots of different spring cards. I actually use this one. I'll show you another card with that sometime soon. Lots of really nice plaids. This is a really great paper pack. And then the other part is when you flip it, you have lots of other designs that you could use for different stuff as well. I tend to be more of a plaid person. I really love all the plaids, so I kind of have a hard time flipping to the other side, but that is all that you get. So it is a huge pack of 12 by 12, which I think is really a pretty awesome deal for free with a $100 purchase, because you can definitely make a ton of cards with this. Okay, so to begin, I'm going to show you. I'm just going to grab these couple stamps, and we are using Night of Navy and Fleur de Flamingo. I think this should work fine. We'd have to clean those off a little bit. And then the other thing we're using is the Thanks. And what I'm going to do before we get started is I'm going to just take, and I'm going to show you a couple of tips as we go along. I'm just taking a microfiber cloth. I got a huge pack of these many moons ago at Costco, one of my favorite places to shop if you're new here. And usually when they get really disgusting, I just throw them away because it was such a huge pack. They're very cheap, so it's not that you want to keep throwing stuff away, but you really wouldn't feel bad. I've gotten these to the point where they're either covered with glue or super black. But you can see there's a lot of lint from some of the baby wipes that were used to clean these off. And this will take all of that off, basically, so you don't get any fuzzies in your stamping. So if you notice that you're having issues with stamping, it's always a good idea to clean your stamps. So we do still Stampin' Mist, and this also comes in a refill bottle, so you can just refill your little smaller spray bottle. You can either spray this on a cloth, you can spray it on here directly. If it's dirty, you can use one of the large stamps. It's really, really great for cleaning up your stuff so you have nice, crisp images. One other thing I wanted to mention is because some of my stamp club friends were telling me they had some issues with pads. So just two things. This one was recently re-inked. Before that, I re-inked this one after Stamp Club. So you can see we have two different kinds of stamp pads, just in case you're not familiar. These are the original pads I still have a lot of these. They're linen. And then the newer style is foam. And you can see that sometimes the ink will just sit on the top. So just in case you've never seen this trick before, where's my spoon? Here it is. It's hiding. So I just basically use the same spoon over and over again. One other thing, I'm just going to show you this before we start. If you ever have a really dark ink that you're afraid that's going to contaminate, you can spray Stampin' Mist on here, give it a quick wipe, and it does come completely clean. So I just use the same one. But if you get a stamp pad that's either over inky, so it's really, really saturated and you're getting a goopy image, or maybe you've re-inked it, one other thing that you can do is you take your spoon and you kind of just press your ink down into the pad, just like so. And it helps to kind of smooth things out a little bit. Or if you get a pad that's super, super inky, another thing that you can do is you can take your spoon and you can press your ink to one side. And I'm hoping you can see the difference. So this side is lighter, this side has more ink. But instead of what we used to do which was dabbing it with paper towels, your ink is staying in the pad. And then when you need more, you just kind of redistribute your ink. But it's a great way to save instead of basically taking your ink off and then not being able to use it. So that's the way I tend to go. And then what I'll do is, since this is still damp, just wipe this off. And 100% truly, it even has bumps in it. I have used the same spoon for pretty much every single color except black. Okay, so I'm going to leave those open, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do today. And this one's actually already scored, so I'm going to make this. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I scored this for some reason, but I'm going to use it anyway. We're just going to cover it up. So I have a piece of Petal Pink, and this measures 4 1/4 by 11. You do want to score it at 5 1/2, but then what I did for this one is I trimmed off 1 1/4 inches from the bottom. So you'll take 1 1/4 inches, cut that. This will have a little divot in it, but honestly, once we take it apart, you won't see it anyway. Then what I'm going to do is turn this, and I'm going to cut this other piece at 2 1/8. So that's a little bit longer line before the 2 1/4. So this is 2 1/4. That's 2 1/8. Okay, and then this will be the top. So this is the top. This is the bottom. And then this piece will be your connecting piece in the middle. So the only thing you need now is DSP. So I have a couple of these cut already. One of these might be. Yep, that one is going to be for the top portion. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, this is 1 3/4, probably by 4. Yes. So the top portion is 1 3/4 by 4. And then the bottom portion, which I'm just using up some of my scraps here, is going to be 1 inch by 4. So we already have our 4, and we just want to trim this down to 1 inch. And if you wanted to, you could even trim this up, use this little piece on the top. Just kind of depends on what you want to do. We will still need one more piece for the middle. And this one is 4, well, that should be, oh no, that's 4 1/4. Forgot because of the way I did it. So that one doesn't really matter. 4 1/4 by 2 1/8. So we're going to make this 2 inches. So I'm going to just trim off a little piece of scrap here. This is 2 inches. Yep. So we want it to be 1 and... I'm going to go with 1 7/8 to start. Can always make it smaller, need be. And then 4 1/4, we'll do this by. I'm going to go with 4 1/8. I can't remember what I actually used it at. Oh goodness, did I get, no, we'll just use this side of it, it's fine. Yeah, I'm going to make this just a little smaller. We're going to take that down to 4. Okay, so that's pretty much all the cutting. And then all we have to do is the stamping. So you can see there is some ink on this side, and my trimmer blade needs to be replaced, which happens a lot because I cut a lot of cardstock with it. So what I'm going to do is I have a little bit of a ridge here. So I'm just going to take my bone folder and just press it down just to kind of smooth that ridge. That way when I stamp my image, you won't see a ridge there. Okay, so there's that. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my base card and just reinforce the fold. This one's going to be the bottom piece, so it's going to go like that, and then this piece will be the connector. So I'm going to go ahead and do my stamping, and then we'll assemble. Oh, you know what? I forgot. I need one other little piece for the inside. I need a piece that measures 4 by 5 1/4 for the inside panel, and I'm going to show you something that I goofed up. That way maybe it'll save you a little bit of aggravation. So this is 4 5 1/4. And I'm going to show you with these 2 little strips here, just in case. I'll show you that afterwards. What I'm going to do is I'll do it the correct way, and then I'll tell you in case you botched it what you want to do. So this is the inside panel, so we're just going to ink this up. Just this flower here. Sometimes when you have these, because they have a solid image, even though they have a little bit of texture to them, when you ink, you kind of want to give it a bit of a twist. So we're going to stamp that. And I'm not going to put anything on the inside. This one does have for everything. I'm just going to leave thanks. I'll do that later. That way I know what I need. So here is our inside portion. And the only other thing we need is just to stamp our thanks sentiment just on a scrap. And then I'm just going to trim that. Okay. Close this one up. And I'm going to set this on the side. And then over here is our white panel. And this one is the tree image. And because this is such a large stamp, I'm actually going to flip it over. And this block is just a little bit too small, but we'll make it work. So Flirty Flamingo. I did just re-ink this, so I'm not sure. It probably is going to be a little bit darker than this was, but it should still be fine. And then just kind of lining it up, eyeballing it, pressing, and picking it up. There you go. It's probably a slight bit darker, but again, no biggie. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and put all of our stuff together. So I'm going to just use some liquid glue. Let me go on this instead. Kind of depends where you want it. If you wanted more of the trunk, you could totally off-center this, but since it's a smaller piece, I really don't think it matters. And also, one other thing to note, I know that this piece does have a score mark underneath, but I really don't think it's going to draw anyone's eyes there except me because I made the card, so I would not going to be concerned with it. I'm going to take my other piece. This is my 1-inch piece, and I'm going to layer this onto that 1 1/4 inch piece we trimmed off the bottom. Again, the nice part is you can trim these pieces as much as you wanted. So if you wanted a wider bottom or a more narrow bottom, you can totally do that. Same with the top panel. So I get it straight. Just like so. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this here. Now you can do this 2 different ways. Oh, you know what? Let's put our inside piece in. This is the thing I wanted to show you. When I originally made my sample, I wanted to put something on the inside, but I already got a little bit adhesive happy and I glued it down prior. So I'm going to show you something you can do. This is what I did. So I had my card, I mean, completely fully assembled. But if you have these little scraps, what you can do is you could take a piece here and you kind of line it on the bottom. You could use a piece of washi tape if you need to hold it, and then line it on the other end. I'll show you 1 second. Okay, so you won't, basically what you're trying to do is avoid getting blue ink on your base card. So if you line those 2 up, you can put just a little piece of washi here and here, and then you could take your stamp it, and what's going to happen is these 2 pieces will have ink, but you'll remove them, but it'll keep it off of your bottom base card. So hopefully that makes sense. I learned that one trial and error. All right, and then I'm going to move this out of the way just so I don't get ink on there inadvertently. So now this is going to go to the bottom, and mine here is flat. If you wanted to, you could put dimensionals on this as well. It just kind of depends on what you want to do. I'm going to just stick with the same thing again, just flat. That way I don't have to pop up my sentiment at the bottom. So just a little bit of glue on the top, a little bit of glue on the bottom. And I'm going to do this sideways so I can assure myself that it's lined up straight. So I just have this to the bottom, this closed. Gonna pick up my tree, make sure it's facing the correct direction, and just set it. And just hold just for a moment. Okay, looks good. All right, so that's it. The only other thing I have to do, actually 2 little things, I'm gonna trim these out with my paper snips. And usually this kind of depends on what you want to do, but I tend to start cutting and then just move the paper where I want it to be. Sometimes I'll go in closer. Sometimes I have a little tighter. The only thing you do want to make sure that you do is to let your ink fully dry, so you don't have any smudges when you're turning your paper. And if any of this gets on your nerves, you can always whack it off. And then just continue. Just like so. And then again, you could pop this up with dimensionals if you wanted. And maybe just for a little bit of variety, I'll do that. I'm going to just try. So that was a little bit large of a piece there. So I'm going to just try so that this is a little bit more narrow, just to smooth that edge off just a little bit. So let's grab a couple. I think this might be just a little too big. Oh, we have mini whites. Didn't think I had any more mini white dimensionals. So we're just going to put a couple of these. I usually pick these up in 2 because I feel like if you pick them up in 2, it's actually, oh, this is 3. It's actually easier to take the backings off of them. So I usually tend to go for little groups of 2. Probably don't need this many dimensionals, but. And just put one little one over here. And then I'm going to just check to see if there's anything that's sticking out. So you have a little bit here. I'm just going to grab my snips and kind of take just the edge off. Same with this one right here. There you go. So I'm going to pop these all off. I feel like sometimes the single ones are more difficult, which is usually why I try to do them in 2s. So pull these off. And then we're going to add one other little thing that just came to me only because I felt like it needed just like a tiny bit of something. So we're going to take this, we'll put this down here at the bottom. Oh, I feel like my finger might have smudged that little teeny bit there. And I do want to make sure that this is completely on the bottom just so it doesn't get ripped just with the little edges being there. Okay, so my final little piece that I'm going to add are... Oh, running out of room. These brass butterflies. They're really, really cute. They're not terrifically expensive, which is usually a bonus in my book. And I just put one. You have multiple sizes to choose from. So this one here has a super tiny one. So I think I'm going to use one of the bigger ones. And I'm just going to pick that up. I'm going to put him maybe up here instead. And maybe we'll do a... Now the class is done, I feel like I can use a few more of these. So we either have the 1 or the power of the 3s. So you do get a lot of these in here. Actually, I've had these for some time and I've used them for lots of projects and I still have plenty of them left over. So they are a really good bargain as well. So let me move just a couple of these things out of the way so I don't accidentally make any mistakes. And then I'm going to have a really cute Valentine's card in case you need a last minute one, because I know we're coming up on that date. So really cute Valentine's. These do stand, so you can see they do stand completely on their own. Really fun. I don't know which one is your favorite. I kind of like the trio of butterflies just because it's the 3s. But honestly, I think they're both really cute. Definitely a difference between when I did this one versus re-inking it. So it's a little bit more potent in the inking. But I hope you all have enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them here on my YouTube channel. If you haven't already, I would love for you to like and subscribe my channel. And if not, you can also even share it with someone else that you think would enjoy this video. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you real soon.